Okay, YouTube, I'm going to show you a video on how to take apart and reassemble a PS3 controller. I'm going to show you a couple tricks to help you along the way, make it easier on you, because I know it can be difficult, especially if it's the first time you've ever been doing this. It can get really difficult. To start with, you need the PS3 controller, of course, and then just to take it apart and reassemble it, you don't need any fancy tools. Just a couple, like a simple screwdriver set. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or anything. Alright, so let's start taking it apart. The main two things you'll need is a Phillips screwdriver and another Phillips screwdriver, slightly smaller than the first one. So the Phillips screwdriver can't be huge, it's just kind of small. But on the PS3 controller, it has 5 screws, and it doesn't really matter what you start with, as long as you get them all out. Doesn't really matter. Probably gonna time lapse this, so you don't have to watch me take all these apart, take all the screws out of there. One screw. Alright, now that we have all the screws out, what we're going to do is take the controller, and you're going to grab the bottom portion of it, and then over here, I usually just grab somewhere behind it, and then this over here, and you just gently pull it apart. Then once it's separated, you flip it over, because all the components are on the bottom, and you don't want them all to fall out. So then you just flip the top cover off, but to do that, when you lift it up, you have to do it, make sure it doesn't get caught on these R2 and the L2 buttons, so you gotta push those in and pull it up, and that's the bottom cover. Set that aside. A good trick to keep your screws together is just set them in this little spot right here. That way you can't lose them, just on the bottom portion of the controller. So yeah, set that to the side. So this is the inside, and this is the battery, and this is one of these really new controllers with the motors all built into the frame and everything. But what I don't understand is they gave me this really new high-end controller, but then it comes with this old crappy battery, because in some of the newer controllers they have this new lithium-ion battery. I don't know why this big honking thing's in there. The new one's actually smaller too. But to remove this, just grab the wires and just kind of give it a gentle tug. It pops out. Set that to the side. Okay, the bigger Phillips screwdriver that I told you needed was for the outside, and we're going to take our slightly smaller one now and remove this screw right here that holds the circuit board to the controller. So we're going to undo this real quick, and this screw is different than the screws used to hold the controller together, so I'm going to put it in the frame, but I'm going to put it on the other side, keep those screws separated. This controller is a little different because usually you can just wiggle out the motors and then pull the circuit board out by itself. But this is all hooked together in one giant frame, and these motors are clipped in to the frame. So to get these out, you're gonna need a small flathead because they're clipped in, and then you're just gonna undo these little clips that hold it in. You don't told not to break it or anything, but just use the flathead to unclip these. There we go. So then now we're just going to kind of gently wiggle the circuit board out and get it loose like that. And then we're going to grab the frame and just kind of gently wiggle that out too. So then this is the frame, and then here's the motors, and here's the touchpad where the buttons hit. But this is what I was talking about, how the motors are built into the frame. And you can undo that. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, you can just look at it and I'm not going to do it, it's just really easy. But, because I don't need to take this apart, because you can figure that out yourself, that's really easy. So I'm just going to set that to the side. It's just one piece now. And here's the L1 and R1 buttons, those fell out, so we're going to move it. And if you tip it over, then all the buttons fall out. So then this is just the whole frame. So just like that. So controller is completely disassembled right now. So now is the process of us reassembling it. So we're gonna take the frame. We're gonna start with that, and we're gonna start with the buttons because this, you could just, you know what I mean. You could do it either way. Start with the arrow keys or the buttons, but it doesn't matter. We'll just start with the buttons. So you just gotta line them all up. Sony made it where the buttons only fit one way, so you can't get creative and turn them around or move the spots or whatever. But you gotta put them in the right spot, and then just kind of twist them until they fit to the right spot how they're supposed to go. There is a way to get around that. You could just take sandpaper and then file off these little things. Then you can put them in any way you want to. But you could do that. I don't have to show you how to do that. You could do that yourself. But you just take sandpaper and do those little tabs off. So then we're going to take this little gel pad, the one with the rectangle in the middle, and the rectangle is going to go flat. We're going to just set that in there, like so. We're going to take the arrow keys. The arrow keys doesn't matter where they go. You just pop them in there. And then the gel pad is the one with the circle. And it goes in there anyway. We're going to take the PS button and we're going to drop that in the middle. And then the little gel cover that goes over that one, with also the start and the other button and the PS all together. So then we have that like that. So then we're going to take our frame and circuit board and everything, because in this controller it's one whole piece, and we're just going to drop it in, and then but you got to line up that little hook thing right there with the little thing, this little thing. And sometimes it can get a little tricky, but you just gotta line it up and then do your best. And it'll only go in one way. This is one of those parts that you don't want to force because it only goes in one way. But it goes in like that. And this is the one with the clipping motor, so I'm just going to push on the motors and just clip the motors in. And then we're going to take that other screw, the small one that we kept separated, remember? I'm going to take the small screwdriver. And we're going to want to screw back in the circuit board so it doesn't fall out on us. So we're going to screw that in, make sure it's nice and snug. And this is a good time to flip the controller over and press all the buttons and move the joysticks and make sure everything's in the right spot and you didn't forget anything. It'll save you some time because you think you have it all together, and then you flip it over and you realize you forgot a button or something. And then these R2 buttons, you just kind of pull them out a little bit because they're out of place, and you pull them out a little bit, and you just pull them and push them in, and they only go one way. And be careful not to rip these R2 buttons off, but they just fit in this little slot. They slide in right there, so they fit. They just slide in right there. And then the next step is plug the battery back in. And for some reason, for me, this is one of the hardest parts because I don't really have that small of fingers, and you just gotta get lined up in there perfectly. And sometimes it can get kind of difficult. I've even heard people say this is the hardest part, to put back a controller, put the battery back in. I kind of agree with them. Okay now. So once you get your battery plugged in, we're just gonna lay it flat, just like that. Okay, these L1 and R1 buttons, I didn't forget about these. Just move those to the side, we do those later. Don't pick up the bottom really heavy, because you probably have all your screws in there. I've done that a couple times, that sucks. So we're going to take the bottom cover now, and we're going to set it up on top. We're going to go the buttons through it first. Make sure the buttons are all the way in, like that. And then come up from the other side, make sure your battery's still in place, and just hold the bottom. And sometimes you just gotta like manhandle these controllers. Just make sure everything's right, and just pull it towards you and lay it flat. And then when that's connected, you know it's together. And then you just kind of squeeze around the controller and push it all together. Make sure everything snaps in, and just make sure it still works and everything, and it's all good like that. So then these L1 and R1 buttons, what we're going to do with them, they have like little prongs on the side of them, little clips. And if you do this before you put the back cover on, they don't stay in and it's extremely hard to do. So you do these last. And you just take them and lay them flat and just push them in. And they work 100% fine. It's just one of those tips. It makes it a lot easier. Just push them in and 100% working and everything. Take your screwdriver. Oops. And just put, and then you're done. Just push, just screw all the screws back in. And obviously I'm not going to put all the screws in because we're going to run out of time. I'm just going to put a one in. But there you go. It works and everything. Completely finished controller. There you go. That's how to take apart and reassemble a controller. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel and please rate this video. Thank you.